Today, ang gagawin natin is mag-draft tayo ng front bodies or pattern for front bodies. So, ito na yung mga measurements na gagamitin ko sa pag-draft ng pattern. So, shoulder, bust, across chest, across back, bust width, bust height, waistline, waist, and hips. Yun yung mga measurements na kailangan natin. Tapos, dinivide ko na din siya. Kung kailangan siya i-divide into 4, into 2, and kung hindi siya kailangan i-divide, kagaya ng waistline, hindi na natin siya ilalagay dito. So, meron din ako mga materials para ba't ibang kulay ng pentel pen para makita nyo yung mga notes ko dyan. And then, inanda ko na din yung mga tools sa pag-draft ng pattern. At saka yung ating pattern paper or Manila paper. Okay, so yung first step natin is make a perpendicular line and mark the corner as point A. So, gagamit ako ng L square para makapag-draft ng perpendicular line. And mark the corner as point A. Step 2, from point A to point B, measure 1.5 inches downward. So, mag-measure tayo na 1.5 and mark it as point B. So, next step is i-extend lang natin yung point sideward. Step 3, from point B to point C, measure 4 inches downward. From point B to point C, measure tayo 4 inches. And mark it as point C. Step 4, from point A to point D, measure 1/4 of bust measurement. Or use the 1/4 of bust measurement. So, yung bust natin is 30 inches. Dinivide ko siya into 4. Ang nakuha ko is 7 inches and a half. So, mag-measure lang tayo from point A pababa ng 7 inches and a half. Ayan, i-mark lang natin siya as point B. And then, extend point B sideward. Ayan. So, next, step 5, from point A to point E, use the measurement for figure or waistline. So, yung waistline natin is 15 inches. So, magsusukat lang tayo ng 15 inches pababa. At i-mark natin siya as point E. And then, i-extend lang natin yung point E sideward. Next step. Okay. Step 6, from point E to F, measure 7 inches downward. Or ito yung tinatawag natin na hip depth. Or lalim ng ating hips. Or balakang. And mark as point F. Then, extend point sideward. Okay, step 7, from point A to G, measure 3 inches sideward. So, mag-measure lang tayo ng 3 inches and mark it as point G. Then, extend point G downward. Okay. Step 8. From point A to point H, measure 3 inches downward. So, mag-measure lang tayo, 3 inches ulit. And mark it as point H. Then, extend point H sideward. So, yung next step naman, or yung step 9, is isi-shape na natin yung neckline. Gagamit ako ng ibang kulay para mas makikita nyo yung shape niya. So, ang gagamitin natin pang shape pala is French curve. Yan. So, isi-shape nyo lang siya gaya nito. Step 10, from point B to point I, measure or use the one half of shoulder measurement. So, yung shoulder measurement natin is 7 inches. Kaya, from point B, mag-measure tayo ng 7 inches. And then, ima-mark natin siya as point I. Then, isi-shape natin siya using a ruler or L-square. Step 11, from point C to point J, no, use the one half of across chest measurement. Yung across chest natin is 12 and a half. So, kung i-divide mo siya into 2, ang makukuha mo is 6 and 1/4. So, susuka tayo ng 6 and 1/4. And ima-mark natin as point J. Then, isi-shape natin or i-connect natin yung point I and J using a French curve. Pwede ring ruler. Pero kung meron kayong French curve, yun na lang yung gamitin nyo. Yan. Step 12. From point D to K, use 1/4 of bust measurement plus 1 inch. So, yung bust measurement natin is 30 inches. Kung i-divide mo siya into 4, ang makukuha mo is 7 and a half. So, sa 7 and a half, mag-add tayo ng 1 inch allowance. From point B, 7 and a half plus 1 inch. Okay. So, 8 and a half yun. I-mark lang natin as point K. Then, isi-shape natin siya or i-connect natin yung point J and K using a French curve. Step 13, from point E to L, use 1/4 of waist measurement plus 1 inch. Yung waist measurement natin is 26 and 1/2. So, i-divide natin siya into 4. Ang makukuha natin is 6 and 5/6 plus 1 inch. So, mag-measure tayo ng 6 and 5/6 plus 1 inch, 7 and 5/6. Yan. And mark it as point L. Then, i-connect lang natin yung points K and L using a hip curve. Ganito yung position ng tool natin. Okay, step 14. From point F to point M, use 1/4 of hip measurement. So, ang ating hip measurement ay 33. Hindi na, kung i-divide natin siya into 4, ang makukuha natin is 8 and a half. Hindi na natin kailangang mag-add ng allowance for the hip measurement. So, as is na lang siya na 8 and 1/2. Okay, step 15, from point A to N, measure or use the bust height measurement. Yung bust height measurement natin is 8 inches. So, from point A, pababa, mag-measure tayo ng 8 inches. And mark it as point N. Then, extend point sideward. Maiksi lang yung extension ng point. From point N to point O, use 1/2 of bust width or bust distance measurement. Ang bust width natin ay 6 inches. So, i-divide nyo siya sa 2. Ang makukuha niya is yung kalahati niya. So, ang nakuha ko is 3 inches. So, from point N, measure akong 3 inches. And mark it as point O. Then, extend point O sideward. Okay, and then, extend point downward. Then mark this point as point P. So, from point P, mag-measure tayo ng 1/2 inch sideward. 1/2 inch sa sideward niya ulit. And mark it as point K and R. And connect lang natin yung Q sa O and yung R sa O. Step 18, from point P, measure 4 inches downward and mark it as point S. So, ang gagawin natin, extend lang natin ang konti itong line na to. Yan. And mark it as point S. Then, connect points S to Q, S to R. Sa M using a hip curve. Last step, step 19, from point M, measure 1 centimeter upward and mark it as point T. And then, connect points F and T using a hip curve. So, dito sa last part natin, i-identify muna natin yung mismong pattern. So, itong line na to, itong first line na to, mapapansin nyo, nakakonect siya sa ating neck part. Yung second line naman, nakakonect sa ating shoulder. So, dinidiscuss ko to para mas madali yung matandaan yung process ng pagpa-pattern or pag-draft ng front bodies. Next naman, itong line na to, point C, nakakonect yan sa ating across chest. Okay. The next line naman is sa ating bust. Yung sa point E naman, or yung line naman ng E, nakakonect sa ating waist. And yung last line naman, nakakonect sa ating hips. Ayan. So, kung titignan nyo, ito namang parang padaya mo na to. Ito yung tinatawag nating darts. Ito namang part na to is para sa ating neckline. And ito namang part na to ay para sa ating hemline. So, yung ating next video, ipapakita natin yung pag-a-add ng allowance. And yung sa pag-draft ng back bodies, collar, and skirt. Meron na ako naunang video kung saan demonstrate ko paano i-draft yung sa sleeves. So, yung mga remaining parts pa, yun yung gagawa natin ng demonstration.